Today was a big day in two communities, and the only thing that really connects these two groups is that they are both based on work that comes out of Japan. And I'm going to say a sentence that I don't think anyone's ever said today in their entire life. But both Jujutsu Kaisen and Tomodachi Life has managed to make some of the most annoying goobers and losers online mad. And the reason why is simply just because the newest Jujutsu Kaisen episode and the newest trailer and like gameplay release for Tomodachi Life were both released today, and a lot of people got mad about specific parts of these releases. So the first point of controversy comes in Jujutsu Kaisen, and it's with Kirara. A character that were first introduced in this episode as one like the third years who works alongside Hikari. It's one of the people they got to consider when they're trying to recruit Hikari over to their team for the Colon Games. And the big issue comes basically with this line. So this line right here kind of caused a lot of controversy, and it's with just the gender identity of Kirara. Now, if you're a normal, high-functioning human being like I am, you know she's a girl. This obviously implies that she's transgender, but no one really gives a fuck if you're, once again, a normal, functioning human being. But a lot of people have gotten mad about the fact of just the sheer possibility of Kirara being a transgender woman. And from what I remember in the manga, it was a lot more ambiguous. I think it did at one point show a picture of her like in the past, and she kind of looked more like a guy. But in the actual official translation that is on Crunchyroll, this is a line that says, "But the other 30-year was a guy, right?" Which means that she is no longer a guy. And so a lot of people are obviously getting really mad at this line, saying, "Well, no, she's actually a guy. She's a femboy or whatever," and all that tomfoolery, which is just problematic for many reasons. But I'm kind of here to say that if you actually have like any sort of reading comprehension skills and you've read any further into the story at all, or even if you just looked with your fucking eyes at the scenes that played out in the newest episode, you'll understand that Kirara is a woman, and you're lying to yourself if you believe it's not. A big way that people kind of say that Hikari is 100% only interested in the women is this quote right here, where he basically says, "Who wants to ride a Ferris wheel with a dude?" And he's basically implying that Ferris wheels are usually like a cliche romantic thing that where two lovers go in and they kind of ride and it's romantic and get to see the scenes. And so here he's saying that he would only want to ride it with a woman because once again it is a romantic place for people to be. And so specifically here he's saying he's only interested in the women. And if he's dating Kirara, that means that she is a woman. And it is kind of easy to see that if you have any possible reading comprehension skills, you'll understand that Kirara is a woman. Gege want her to be a woman. And there's really no debate around it here. Unless you just like read it at face value, fucking hit your face with a baseball bat, and then then you start speaking about the show and start analyzing it. Because if you're at that low brain level capacity, then maybe your argument makes sense. But if you actually just look at the text on the screen and understand the characters and understand like any sort of critical thinking practices in any capacity, you understand that Kirara is a woman. And now a lot of like the losers who are kind of coping with the idea that Hikari still would never like a trans woman, that is base gambler, out of the system guy who hates the common philosophy of the current jujutsu society, would never date a trans woman. He would never do that. He would never date someone like that. He would never lower standards. But that is kind of instantly proven wrong when you have like two little things you look at. So one thing is this scene right here where she's obviously jealous about him talking about his exes, and she literally mentions like in the next line, telling him to stop mentioning her exes. And like usually people don't get mad about someone mentioning their exes unless they're in a relationship where they're comparing their significant other to the exes that they've had in the past. So this already disproves the point that Hikari would never date someone like Kirara. And then this scene also, like, if you have eyes, if you like look with your two eyes that you've been given as a human being, just a masterpiece of evolution that we've come through billions of years of just perfect events aligning, you can see pretty clearly here that this is kind of like, an action that I feel like mainly people in a relationship would only do. I don't know what people are doing. I don't know if they're having like their best buds while they're laying together on the couch leaning on each other, grabbing their ass as like a completely platonic thing. Now that could be happening. But like I feel like most of the time, if you see a scene like this, you're gonna assume that these two people are dating. And so the cope around Hikari not dating Kirara because she's a trans woman, he would never do that, also just completely falls apart if you just like look at the screen in any capacity. And so I think it's kind of really crazy to me that so many people are like this deluded around a completely irrelevant trait of a character. Where they're like, no, she's a femboy. She's not cringe. She's hot though, but god damn it, but she's a boy. I can't get to these feelings. You get the idea. Is that like people are just kind of being a loser about this, about something that just should be entirely inconsequential, but they're making such a I was gonna say plot point, not even a plot point. It's an irrelevant part of the story. It is just like an additional part of Kirara's character, and they're blowing it out of proportion. They're making a mountain out of a molehill. And then the other thing that came out of, controversy from things coming to Japan is in the beloved game Tomodachi Life, where the newest trailer for the game got released and like kind of some gameplay mechanics. And the big controversy can be seen right here. So the big thing that people are fucking pissing their pants about for Tomodachi Life is that the game has gone woke. People are mad that you can now date whoever the hell you want. You got male, female, non-binary, and you wouldn't believe it. In 2026, a game releasing in 2026, where it allows you to kind of like date people, have some inclusive options, and also, once again, this is also like gender preferences too, because obviously this is in top left and I can't read because I'm an idiot. But also the dating preferences, it stays the same, and so the fact that people are also mad about this kind of shows how much of a loser they are. Like, I'm reminded of the classic Doom tweet where it's you control the buttons you press. Like, if you're mad that they have a non-binary option or a same-sex option, just don't press the fucking buttons. You're not forced to be gay. I think it reminds me of a time where a guy was mad at Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. He accidentally got into like a gay relationship. And now, from what I understand about Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, because it's a game I've never played, but what I've read about it is that to get into this gay relationship and have like this gay sex scene, you need to have like a story-wide sequence of correct decisions to get into this relationship. And so like this dude was mad that his truest heart of hearts and his most raw experience with the gameplay allowed him or forced him to be gay. Well, forced is not allowed. He understood his true self as being gay, and he was mad about that because apparently he pressed such a significantly long streak of buttons correctly that he ended up being gay. And maybe it was just his true self showing out. And so obviously, the biggest losers on the internet are mad about this. I'm just going to show one tweet because, I really don't want to give any more of these people their time of day. But you have this fucking goober Grums who's just mad about Nintendo being terrible. He's mad about this person. I think she is one like the newest presidents of Nintendo. I could entirely be wrong, but I do remember one thing about her is that she's been working at Nintendo for about 20 years, and she was the next in line for like this president spot at Nintendo for like almost the entire time she was at Nintendo. So he's mad that he's stupid. And then he's also mad that, you can date whoever you want. But once again, people are replying with the classic Doom tweet. You control the buttons you press. And that's kind of like another big issue is that people are really stupid about how they interact with media, especially with games. Because if they're mad you can be gay in the game, just don't press the buttons to be gay. It's kind of that simple. It's really not that difficult. But once again, they see, the ability to be, or to have all these options of dating and gender identities as the fall of society itself, the fall of Japan's cultural dominance over the West, the fall of Japan's cultural history, because you're able to press a button that gives you another option to make you happy. I don't really understand the thought process behind this. Now, I've tried in my many of years on the internet of looking at these people under a glass, a magnifying glass, to kind of dissect, or I guess a microscope, to dissect what the fuck their thought process is. But once again, I don't really understand how you can get mad when the number one way to avoid this wokeness, as they say, is to just avoid pressing buttons in a specific way, that you are not required to press buttons to be gay, or to be non-binary, or to be woke, and yet you still do. And it really makes you wonder if people are really mad about this. It's not because it's an actual issue, or it's because they have to, have a come to Jesus moment with themselves and say, I want to press the buttons. I want to press the buttons that make me gay. The gay buttons that make me gay and like men are what I want in my life. And that's exactly what we need. I want to be gay, but I don't like that it's letting me be gay, because I don't want to be gay, but I am. And that's kind of like the thought process behind this. So apologies for, letting a white boy speak a little bit of woke, but like I kind of just like saw these two events converge at the same time of people getting pissy about what they perceive as woke and what they perceive as the fall of Japanese culture by one allowing a trans person in Jujutsu Kaisen, where, spoilers, the next character down the line, or one of the next characters down the line, Higuruma, is a blatant and obvious criticism of the Japanese criminal justice system. So like, if you actually just like know the story at all, or know any of the characters, you know that like I don't think Gigi, whatever the fuck, is the most blaring advocate of Japanese culture and Japanese society. And so, is it shocking that he would have this? Not really. I think people are just making such a big deal out of something that is completely irrelevant in the story. And Tomodachi Life, like, it's just a classic example of my brother in Christ. You control the buttons you press. How are you getting mad at the option? How are you getting mad at the possibility? Like, you can have Jeffrey Epstein and Charlie Kirk, who are both, dead, sipping a martini on the beach. You could have fucking Epstein and Kirk Yowie on the beach, and you're mad about gay. You're mad about the gay. You can have pedophiles in your game, but the gay is where I draw the line. I'm allowed to have pedophiles, but I cannot be gay. Is basically the entire philosophy behind these people, and it doesn't really make sense. It doesn't really make sense how they're mad about, once again, the option of pressing the buttons. And these people are gonna probably boycott the game and say, "I will never play Tomodachi Life ever again," even though they've never played it one time. And so the bottom line of Nintendo will legitimately not change once. If anything, Wilkie's gonna pay in this scenario, because I think one of the biggest things that people wanted in this newest Tomodachi game was the ability to be gay, and they let you do it, because the only way you could do it in the other game, or the original game, is emulate it and then probably put mods in it to allow gay, or just make people the wrong gender and have them fuck. If you like kind of are gonna go in my comments and say, "Hey, this is actually a big deal, and I'm really mad that you're okay with this tomfoolery," don't. It would be a waste of your time. I will not give you my time of day. And I really do not care about what you have to say. If anything, I'll make fun of you, and I'll be happy while doing it, and I'll be at a net positive, while your angry comment will put you at a net negative, because you wasted your time commenting on a YouTube video of a guy with 6 subscribers. I think I have that many now. So me and my 6 shooters will gang up on you and kick your shit in if you comment hate. That's all I got for today, so thank you for watching. Goodbye.